What's good, guys? Time for a DL short. Um, the Trump administration started day one with executive orders, and I know one of the big pushes was to deport undocumented folks, illegal aliens, undocumented immigrants, whatever you want to call them. And a lot of people seem to be behind this. I mean, if you ask the average American, hey, should we enforce our immigration laws and, shore up our borders? The average American is going to say, yes, of course. But what we're talking about is way more than just that. Like we have, I think the accepted number is 11 million undocumented people in this country, right? We'll work with that number. So, a lot of folks are like, there's no way, it's impossible to round up 11 million people and deport them. I don't agree with that. I think it's absolutely possible. It's just going to cost. Now, how much will it cost? There's a brother out there named Ryan McBeth, really big channel on YouTube. The brother is tied into the YouTube military community. He serves in military. Um, I think he still does government contract work and stuff like that. It's not. I don't believe he's a tip of the spear guy. He certainly doesn't look like it, but I think he's a tip of the spear tech guy. I think he was one of those dudes who were out there, fighting the cyber war. And real sharp guy. I'm going to link his information in the description below. Go over there, please support. Check him out. He has over 1 million subscribers. He's doing really well on YouTube. A lot of his stuff gets YouTube kind of doesn't let him post his stuff. I mean, YouTube gives him a hard time, but I think this video is going to stay up for a while. Um, he really breaks down this problem, and he's not doing it from a political space. He's just, hey, if we're going to do this, here are some numbers, right? Here are some. He did his best to get the best numbers possible. Again, I'm going to link the video in the description below so you guys can check it out. He does a thorough job of talking about America and America's uh, history with migrants and immigrants and why it is the way it is, and it's pretty good. It's like 25-minute video. I think he does a really good job of kind of bringing you up to speed and getting you to think about it. We're just going to jump in with the last 7 minutes or so of the video when he's just talking the numbers. What is it going to cost to deport these folks? Now, there's numbers on having to arrest them, and then there's numbers on having to process them and then house them somewhere and then deport them. So it's like way more numbers involved in this. But we picked this up where he's just talking about, okay, you've done all that other stuff. You used the minimum time possible to do those other things. Now we're down to just the actual deportation part. How much is that going to cost? Let's check this out.
To this task at all, they would need more money. Then we have deportation, which is the final stage of this process. The average cost of deportation has been estimated by the American Immigration Council will be in the ballpark of about $1,500 per person. It adds another layer of complexity to this massive undertaking. In terms of scale, cost, and disruption, we're looking at one of the largest mass migrations of people in human history. So at an absolute minimum, if we hold every illegal immigrant for the minimum amount of time, meaning like day one, you arrest them and then process them. Day two, they have a trial. And then by day three, they're either released or they're on a plane back to where they came from. That would take 3 days. That's the minimum. So the best case scenario, this works out to $74.3 billion to arrest, $7.8 billion to detain, $16.3 billion for trial, and $16.1 billion for deportation, for a total of $114 billion. That is
real quick, guys. $114 billion. Man, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And again, he's using the absolute minimum time. Like you catch someone and within 3 days, you've done all the other stuff and they're on their way. Either they're released or they're on their way back to their country. 114 billion. The real numbers will be way higher than that. You probably add 30% to that just because our government is so inefficient. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion plus to do this. Yo, that is a serious cost. And again, this is when I say this to all my Trumper friends, like, you guys getting all excited. Do you know how much it costs to do that? One. And two, who's going to take over those jobs? Who's going to fulfill those jobs that are going to be left open because we've picked up the migrant folks who are willing to do these jobs that no one wants to do for like pennies on a dollar? Who's going to do the work? That's going to be a major hit on the American economy, as well as a hit to the government budget and spending. And there's no plan for this. The Trump administration, or any administration for that matter, going all the way back to Reagan, doesn't have a plan for this. The last administration to try to tackle this was Ronald Reagan back in the 80s.
Just the best case scenario, we hold every illegal immigrant for 3 days. A more likely scenario would be 30 days. That would cost $74.3 billion to arrest, $78.2 billion to detain, $16.4 billion for trial, and $16.1 billion for deportation, which would be $185 billion. This is roughly the mandatory spending budget of the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the next 10 years.
10 years.
The absolute worst case scenario for holding everybody would be like a year. This would mean $74.3 billion to arrest, $951 billion to detain, $16.4 billion for trial, and $16.1 billion for deportation, for a total of $1.058 trillion, or approximately the yearly budget of the Social Security program in America. Now, I don't think that every trial will take a year, and this is the absolute worst case scenario, but you need a clickbaity thumbnail with me going, right? The more likely scenario is that some people would take 3 days, like violent offenders. In some cases, families might take 30 days. And then there would be a couple of outliers that could take a year. So either way, once an illegal immigrant is arrested, the clock is ticking. So they either need to be released or deported as soon as possible, because the costs go up really quick. And this doesn't factor into the equation the economic disruption from removing 11 million people from the American economy.
Facts.
People who are, doing something illegal, but they are working, they are paying sales taxes and gas taxes and buying groceries and so on. So there is an economic effect, and the U.S. needs to be prepared for that, although I'm not entirely sure what we need to do.
And another thing to consider too, a lot of folks who are in this country illegally pay income tax. They pay federal income taxes. There are forms out there from the government will give them an EIN number, so they don't get a Social Security number, but they'll give them a number so they can track them and get their tax money. So there are, I don't know the percentage, but I know there are people out here who are in this country illegally. They're undocumented, been in this country for decades, and they pay not only their sales taxes and all that, but they're paying federal income tax. That money will also be gone from the government because you're deporting those folks, so you're not getting that income anymore.
So where do we go from here? Now, if history or even recent events are any indication of what will come next, we might want to worry about this a little bit more. Historically, the United States has prided itself on being a nation of immigrants. However, we have been painfully slow and inept when it comes to our immigration policies concerning legal entry and enforcement. While arresting 11 million people probably isn't something that is economically or even politically feasible, something has to happen. We have to know who the hell is in this country. So maybe it could look like this. Step one, we close the border to illegal immigration and deport people immediately when caught. I mean, the number one rule of wound management is to stop the freaking bleeding. Number two, we deport violent offenders when caught. This is a no-brainer. And number three, we figure out what the heck to do with the millions of illegal immigrants who remain. Now, number three might sound a lot like amnesty. And you might be saying, why are we giving amnesty to people who broke the law? I mean, dude, I got two options here. One that costs $185 billion and the other one's free. $185 billion could buy 84 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers for the U.S. Navy, and I'm a hell of a lot more worried about China's naval shipbuilding capability than I am dudes who stand outside of Home Depot. So yeah, we need to get rid of the violent offenders, but we may need to think about where this money is going. So this was...
Bro, shout out to him. Down to Marco to that, brother.
Down to Marco.
That's Ryan McBeth, man. He's just telling you the truth, bro. Like, all right, what are we going to do here? Like those the breakdown he made there at the end, those three choices, I think that's valid. I think it makes sense. People like, oh, we could just let these people get away with it. Yeah, man. Sometimes people get away with stuff, bro. That's just how it is. Some people get away with stuff or cough up the bread. Point blank, period. Um, Let me know what you guys think. Personally, I'm all for enforcing our laws, our immigration laws. Uh, if you get caught and they process you, you get caught, it's found that you're in this country illegally, I think you should be deported. Would I be okay with an amnesty? Yes, if we secure the borders first. Once we secure the borders, then I'll be cool with an amnesty. Otherwise, you just got that merry-go-round, bro. It is go. You kick someone out, they're gonna be coming right back in. So if we secure the border, then yes, I'll be okay with the amnesty and like, all right, just moving forward. We're not gonna, we're gonna make sure we stay on top of things. Um, so yeah, I'm all for amnesty if it makes sense. As far as spending, hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars to do this, man, I don't know about spending that kind of money. We don't have that kind of money. So, and we're gonna need the cheap labor. Here's the thing, too: if we run that amnesty program, there is no more cheap labor. So the 1% is definitely gonna have a problem with that. You're not gonna be able to get somebody to go out there and pick strawberries for pennies on the dollar because now they have legal status. You're gonna have to pay them minimum wage. You're gonna have to entice them with better wages and you can benefits and all that kind of stuff. So, you're gonna have people out there, the 1%ers, man, and a lot of them not gonna be cool with this. But hey, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Throw it in the comments below. I'm curious to know where you guys stand on this. And yeah, man, that's just one of the things, bro. Illegal immigration, bro, is going to cost a lot of money to deport the people who are here undocumented. It's going to take a lot of money to deal with this tariff war. If the Trump administration goes through with it, that's going to cost America a lot of money. And then you got to look at the loss of that labor, force and what that will do to our economy. That's just a few things, bro. There's so much more out there that we need to talk about. So that's it, man. I'm gonna holler at y'all later, bro. Thanks for rocking out with me. I'm DL Saint. Peace.